Hello YouTube! Are you tired of your old outdated thumbnails and you're looking to spice things up? Well, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Welcome to my channel, Dad Swag. My name is Matt. Now let's get this video rolling. And welcome back. So for today's video, we're going to be using two different apps. The first one's called Background Eraser, and this will do exactly what it sounds like. It'll allow you to erase your background on a person, animal, object, whatever you have there. You then can create your own background and put that picture on top of it, or maybe there's already an existing template, thumbnail, or background that you're just wanting to add your picture on top of it to really make it stand out. The second app we're going to be using today is called Canva. While Canva has a bunch of options and tools within its app, we are just going to be looking at the free YouTube thumbnails that allow us to edit the text and add our own pictures on top of a pre-existing design. Okay everybody, so as of right now, I'm in Background Eraser, and you can see at the top there's a create button with a plus mark right at the beginning there. So if you already had a picture in your photos wherever, you could go ahead and click that, which would pop up your photo screen, which you then can go ahead and select your photo that you want, and that would then attempt to use its AI or artificial intelligence to go ahead and erase the background from your picture. Depending on your picture that you're using, sometimes that can get the first try, and other times it may not be you may not be as lucky at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of two different examples of what I'm talking about here. Now, for this demonstration, what I want to go down is go down to social media and click on the YouTube cover. So this is basically the same size and everything as a thumbnail. It just has a kind of a different name to it for whatever reason. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to select that. You can see in the back now that I selected that, there's like a checkered pattern there. Now, I do have the couple different options at the bottom. I have canvas, which if I select that, allows me to select different sizes that I would want. So if it wasn't YouTube, let's say it was LinkedIn or whatever, I could go ahead and choose the size that's predefined by the settings there. The next one is background. So if I want to add a background, I could go ahead and do that. And it allows me to select from a selection that they give you, or I can go ahead and to the left here, there's an option where I can go into my photos and select different pictures from there. I also have the option for text, a bunch of different options like shadows and colors and fonts and all that good stuff there. And then to the right of that is stickers. So they give you a few options here. I want to say there's a whole bunch, but there's an okay selection. And then to the right of that is the word add, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So I want to go ahead and click on add. And now when I clicked on add, it kind of brought up what I have been working on for my thumbnails and all that. So this is where it's been saving everything like that. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and go to stock photos. So at the top right hand corner, we'll go ahead and select that. Now this actually has a pretty decent selection in here. And so I'm going to go ahead and select dog. And it's going to bring up a bunch of different dog pictures I can choose from. Now, I want to go ahead and select this dog. It's white brown and it has a white grayish background to it too. And that goes ahead and brings up in that checkered pattern. So on the bottom here, we're presented with several different options. We have outline, shadow, opacity, cutout, and duplicate. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose the cutout for this purpose here. And what that's basically going to do is trim or outline the dog and take out the background at that point. Now, like I mentioned before, not every image you select or are working on is going to get this lucky with, but I'm going to show you here how this works. So with my finger, I'm going to go ahead and push down or tap on cutout. And just like that, it took out the background. Now I can take that image then and put it on top of different designs, and it's just going to make it look that much nicer, and it's going to be more workable at that point. And now that that's completed, what we'll do is in the upper right hand corner, I'll go ahead and select the check mark. And this brings us back, and we then have our original options here. So if I click on the dog again, now that it doesn't have a background, I'll go ahead and choose outline. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I could go ahead and select that, and it'll put outline in that color. Now I can make that line thicker or thinner depending on what I want there. So in order to get rid of the outline, what you want to do is scroll all the way left on the very bottom, and there's that / that I'll go ahead and select, which will get rid of it. Then we want to make sure we apply it, so we'll hit that check mark in the right hand corner of the outline box. Now that outline is gone. So let's go ahead and put a background behind the dog. So I went ahead and I selected background, and then I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to look for a backdrop or a background that we want, and I want this one here. So I'll go ahead and select the dog again, and I can move him around the background and place him wherever I want. And I want to put him right here. And you can see how that kind of looks a little bit realistic there, and it frees you up more when you don't have a background behind whatever you're trying to deal with. It's easier to implement into the pictures and all that there. So now that I got the background that I want and everything, I want to just go ahead and select the check mark, so that way it saves it there. And there we go. Now from there, I can go ahead and add text or another picture or whatever I want. So let's just go we'll just write nice day. So we'll go ahead, nice day, and then we'll hit check mark. Now I can work with a text on this as well. So if I have the text or the nice day highlighted and go down to the bottom and select edit, I then am presented with, I can either rework with the text again and make, if I want to add more words or change something there. In the middle, the 2 A's there is the font, so I can change the font style, so whatever I may want. So let's go ahead and do that while we're in here. So we'll choose this one here. Then I have this, if I go over at the top to the artboard or whatever you want to call that there and select it, I then have more options as far as a shadow. So I can go shadow. What I want to do is choose the color of the shadow, which I'll choose black. And then it kind of gives you an example up there, which I really like. So your X axis and your Y axis, it actually shows you right there what's going to look like in the picture. So I really think that's a nice feature there. So you have an idea of what's going to look like before you just put it in there. And let's see here. So we'll go ahead and we'll just change that a little bit. If I can select it here. And we'll do right about there. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead in the upper right hand corner, select the check mark. And I can go ahead and place this wherever I want. So we're going to place it, I don't know, right here. And kind of just like UCut that we were dealing with, we have those horizontal arrows where I can take it, make it bigger, drag it, twist it, whatever I want to do with it. And so we'll go ahead and put that right there. And you can see, like, it doesn't take much time to do this. And, some of the thumbnails I have done, I spent I think the most time I've ever spent was 1 hour on one, but I really was getting there and changing a lot of things. I would say most of them you can honestly probably get done within 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what you're looking to do. But it's pretty easy to add stuff, and especially if you're able to take out all the background in one shot with that one button I showed you previously. Now, if you do have to go through the procedures or the steps in order to get rid of the full background, that can take a little bit longer depending on how much work you have to do there, which we'll be doing next. So here's a photo that I found on my phone that I will want to be editing today. On the very bottom, with nothing selected, if you go ahead in the lower right hand corner, you click on the add button there. So go ahead and just tap on that. It'll go ahead and bring up maybe some things you've been working on. And so at the very top left hand corner, there's an arrow pointing to the left. And right beside that is the word background ER. So if you go ahead and click on that, it will then take you into your photos, which then you can go ahead and find whatever you're wanting to select. So I went ahead and I tapped that left-hand arrow just so it puts me right back where I was. Now, on this in particular photo, if I do cutout, it does do a very good job at getting most of the stuff out. There's just a little bit extra that I probably would want to trim up or make a little bit nicer, but let's go ahead and I'm going to show you what it looks like after clicking cutout, which it will do by itself. So honestly, guys, that's very acceptable. It did a lot of the work for me, but I want to show you how to do it without using that feature. So because there will be pictures that I have ran across some that it does a terrible job. Like there's too much going on in the picture and it can't make out what you're trying to capture or focus in onto. And so it may, like when you use it, it may cut out half of the picture or whatnot. So we're going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is kind of show you the tools that they give you to work with. And I'll run through each one real quick here. So let's go ahead and get started. So right next to the AI, we have eraser. So it gives you an option of 3 different shapes. Also the offset. So basically what the offset is, when I go ahead and select on the screen to erase something, you see how the I'm hoping this captures this on the screen, but I'm maybe like a ½ inch below where it's actually erasing. I don't know if you can capture that, but what the offset will do is allow a bigger gap or a bigger space between it. And sometimes, like when you're doing, you want a bigger space, and other times you want to be close, you want that eraser to be closer to your finger. So if you look real carefully there, see that red dot right below the big circle? That's where the offset's taking place. So I could either, if I take the offset, I drag it one way or the other. See how that eraser either gets closer to that red dot or even on top of the red dot, or I can make it a lot further away. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. Also, you have the option for the size of the eraser. Do you want it big or do you want small? So you can mess with those while you're working or erasing a picture there, depending on what your needs are. So next to the eraser at the bottom, we have repair, which I love that they do this. So rather than having to undo everything you just erased or a big segment since you last lift up your finger, you can go in with the repair, and just like the eraser, it does the exact opposite though. Wherever you put that on and go over, it will put back in the picture. So let's say if I went over a tree here, for example, and I like, oh, I really want that tree in the picture, I could go ahead back with the repair and put that tree back into the picture. So I found that really cool. And then I think one of my favorites ones there is magic, which is right next to the repair. I don't think I've ever used a tool quite like this. I mean, they may be similar, but this, I really like it, guys. So what I'm going to do is keep the offset the same, but I want to just increase the size a little bit. So this tool, guys, is really good for outline stuff. So let's say, let me give a little demonstration. So above Nathaniel's head, I want to go ahead and try erase stuff around his head without actually erasing him. So we'll go ahead here. And basically, if you look at it real carefully, it's figuring out what the background and the different colors and what to do and what not to do. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. And it's one of those, I can just go quickly around whatever object or whatever. And it, for the most part, it does a really good job at deciphering what to erase and what not to. Now, granted, if I get into the blue with that middle blue dot, or I'm sorry, middle red or pink dot in that circle onto the blue costume, obviously it would start erasing part of his costume, but that just saves a ton of time rather than having to go in with eraser and do everything by that. This will do a lot of the work for you. Now, granted, after you're done with this, a lot of times it's good to go in with the eraser and just kind of clean up your lines and make it smooth and everything. But that really knocks out a lot of the work for you. So the next feature is auto, which is right next to the magic there. And what you do on this one is you'll place this in an area that you kind of want to erase. And what it does is it takes the color or that area, and once again, it tries to determine what you're trying to get rid of within a certain amount of length from that circle there. So let's say if I place it in the grass, for example, I'm placing over like a lighter brownish, greenish color, and then I let go, it just erased part of that there. So if you get something with that exact same color that's maybe a little bit bigger, it can erase a whole lot more of that around that area. So this could also be very helpful depending on what you're trying to do as well. So I don't know how well this is going to work, but we're going to try between their two heads there where it's kind of a little tight fit. So I'm going to try to place it on green, let go, and see how it kind of erased what I was looking to get rid of between their heads without having to go in there with the actual tool. So it can be kind of helpful here to do that as well. Then you have your smooth lasso and shape. So basically your smooth, after you're done, is probably when you want to do this, but try to smooth out the edges and all that. I really, guys, I wouldn't touch that one until you're done with the picture. So guys, with lasso, everything that you go around, it will keep, and then everything on the outside of the lasso is pretty much what's going to be erased at that point. So we'll go ahead and do that there. I mean, you can see it got rid of a big chunk without me having to go and erase everything, which is kind of nice. And then shapes, that would be far as the portion, like if you go on the picture and let's say I want a circle, it'll crop it out as a circle. So I'll just hit check mark, you can see, and you can blow that up. So you can see some really nice features. It's pretty cool there. So that's pretty much that. Okay, now that we're down with background eraser, we're in Canva at this point. And what we're doing here is we're just doing a thumbnail for YouTube. So you guys can scroll around a lot, and there's multiple ways to get to certain sections throughout this app here. So just because I'm doing one way does not mean you couldn't go another way. So one of the ways that I typically will do, or what I would normally do, is at the very top you have a banner and you have a bunch of different options here. And what I do is I click on social media. Then from there I can scroll down and you can see, like right at the top there, it says Facebook posts, Instagram stories, and it'll give you just a bunch of different options here. And I'm going to keep on scrolling down until I see YouTube thumbnails. Now, once I see that, see where it says see all to the right of that, I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and either I can create a thumbnail with all the options they give me, or I can scroll through these. And what I'm looking for today is we're not wanting to do a paid one. We're just wanting to do a free one. And we're just going to look for something that we kind of like. And I think what I want to do is that picture of that dog that we cropped out from this beginning of this video. We're going to go ahead and use that again in this. So I'm going to just look around here and just try to see if I can find. Oh, here we go. So let's go ahead and select this thumbnail, which is the dog with the yellow sweater on. And we'll let that load. So you can see like a lot of the thumbnail has been done. Now you can add on top of this, you can edit, you can just do whatever you want, but you don't have to start from scratch at this point. So for example, the dog that's currently in here, let's say if I want to replace that with my own image, what I would do is I would go ahead and select that. Then at the bottom, I have different options. One, there's effects, so like shadows and all that. But in order to replace the image, I'll go ahead and just select the replace button there, or option. And then in here, you basically can go and find all your photos or whatever. So they have photos you can take from, or you can go in your own and select what you want to put on. So we're going to go ahead and select what I have in my images. And remember that dog that we did previously? I'm going to go ahead and select that because there is no background on that right now. So I can go ahead and select that, and then we can go ahead and place him where we want. And that's already looking pretty good. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and we can either edit their font, or edit the text, the font, the size, the color, to make it personalize how we want it to look. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll change the font here to start off with. And let's just find something that we kind of like. What's a little bit better than that? Maybe like this. There you go. I like that. So we'll go ahead and select that. And we can change all, which would change even the bottom portion of that too. And then we're going to go ahead and where it says puppy, I want to go ahead and erase that and say dog. Now, I'm not going to make this look too terribly pretty. We're just going to go ahead and show you kind of how this is done. Now, let's say if I want a shadow behind the dog. So we'll go ahead and click on the dog. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that right now. And then we're going to click on effects. And if we scroll over, there's some that you have to pay for. So like the BG remover, that's kind of like what the program we were using before. But see how it has a crown on it? So my understanding of this app is if it has a crown on it, typically that means you have to pay for it. And there might be some other things I'm not too familiar with, but let's go ahead and click on shadows because I do know that works. And we can do a drop. We can do, or I'm sorry, a glow, a drop, an angle. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things. I think I like a drop. And then if we hit again, it brings into the settings where we then can move the shadow a little bit to our liking. And then we hit done and exit out, and voila, there we have it. So you can see, like, the hardest part I really think is getting the background cleaned up, where you can take that image and pretty much you can, for the most part, put it on top of any image, and it's going to look pretty decent at that point. So now that we create this thumbnail, let's say we want to go ahead and save it. So in order to save this, what you want to do is select the arrow pointing down that then intersects with a line going from left to right, and saying preparing your design. So basically it's just getting everything together for you, downloading it. And now if I go into my photos, I will be able to find this thumbnail and be able to use it, and I can use it for, you know, multiple things, but what we had originally selected it for was for YouTube. So guys, I know this was kind of quick going through everything, but you can kind of see how this works and how it's really doesn't have to be that difficult. If you have the correct tools, it can actually go pretty quick. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Dad swag.